Okay, friends, good evening. Nice to have you here. And I don't know if it's summer, rainy weather, or we just lost a few because this work is not for the faint at heart. Can I have an amen? Whoa, this is big stuff. At least say hi to the person around you real quick. Just make sure you know the name of people right around you. I am burning up. Hey, Dove, will you adjust the back one to 74, please? And let's wave at everyone online. What's up? So, we're happy. We are happy you're here. Oh, always time for those hugs. Isn't that good? If you want a hug, just go to Unity, friends. Life will get better. So we do have a wonderful presentation prepared for you. I want to make sure too that everybody did sign in. My assistants keep reminding me that it's really wonderful if you can take the time to sign in for a couple reasons. One, we want you to get information when we're sending it out, especially when it's important. So, we have a big thing coming up Sunday, a big email's going out this week. So we want your email in the system. Sunday is what we call Heritage Day. It's where we dress and eat according to our culture that we come from, honoring our ancestors and our heritage. I think especially in the U.S. today, it's really wonderful to honor our traditions and our histories and where we may come from. And because, part of where I come from is the native tradition. And in the U.S., everybody's an immigrant. So we just honor that and we honor all of our histories. And we are doing something special this Sunday. Several people have bought special things and are doing research about their culture that they've never known before. A lot of folks who don't know anything about their culture and background have done some work. So I love that was inspired people to do that. If you are a darker skin tone, you know your culture, almost guaranteed. If you didn't, your classmates and society itself let you know something about that. So that was a forced learning at a young age for many of us with dark skin. So anyway, we honor you on the journey, and we're going to have a good time Sunday. And and the theme Sunday, of course, is about essence. And so even though we honor our oneness and our spiritual identity, we also honor our humanity as well, right? So that's a lot of fun to be doing that. So we are beginning tonight. We have a whole presentation, and again, we'll do a little bit of a what I like to just call an introduction on the image points. But first, we want to pray in. That's how we start everything in Unity. So please join me for a word of prayer. Giving thanks, dear God, for this time, this place, for all of the souls gathered here, for everybody joining us online. We know that we are loved, we are supported, we are connected, and we are blessed. We give thanks for this opportunity to learn, to grow, and expand in consciousness. And so it is. Amen. Before we get started, I just realized I want to share. Oh, Dave, you want to give your announcement about the recording?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, hello, everybody. How are you doing? My name is Dave, and I'll be taking care of the online folks. Currently, we have 7 folks hanging out with us online. If you have any questions, please do raise your hand. Reverend Harold has a microphone, and that is more so that the people online can hear you as opposed to just us in the room. So just raise your hand, wait for the microphone, please. And also, just as a reminder, this is being recorded. Ultimately, we'll be putting it up on our YouTube channel. Still working out a few bugs on that. But yeah, it will ultimately live up on YouTube for the world to see.
Yeah, one of the bugs is RCA quit changing your password. Yeah, there's that. Okay.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Well, but you get this thing like somebody's trying to download something in Maine, and it's like, I want to go change that. So I don't want anything weird uploaded on my channel. So that people are trying to help me, and it's like, cannot access. So I had a wonderful conversation with the author of this book. Dave and I both did. What an amazing soul. I'm thrilled we got to meet, and he really respects the work that we're doing here. Eli Jackson Bear is his name, and he told us, and if you listen to the podcast, you'll hear it, but he has not watched television since 1968. He said, I've not seen one reality show. And we both burst out laughing. I said, you haven't missed anything, you know.
Yeah, that episode will air on Monday,
Yeah,
actually.
next Monday.
Just this Monday.
Next Monday. And he did a little work with me at one point, which was really nice. And at first I thought if somebody watches the video, it'll be funny because I was like, okay, does he want me to do this now? He does. Okay. So, but he took me a little bit in an inward process. So that was really nice because I was asking a real specific question. What do you mean when you say absorption? It was on my fixation. He goes, well, rather than me tell you, let's experience. And so that walked me down deep, 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 deep. Dave's over there like Mr. Zen man too. So it was a wonderful experience, and he said he really supported the work that we're doing. And you remember the thing I said in class that I said was not in the book? I asked him specifically. I said, well, one of the things I talked to my class was about old soul or young soul. He said, I said, I just wanted you to know I said that. And he said, well, you agree with Pythagoras, who said that over 2,000 years ago. So that was really cool, and I appreciated that affirmation. I was trying to be authentic and real, that like, hey, I went a little off book, and told him this, but he's done a lot with soul work. He's done a lot as his work has been as a therapist, and he uses this, as a critical tool in helping people expand in consciousness. So I couldn't remember which parts that I was just sharing, if they're on the podcast or not, but those moments stuck out, and I wanted to mention them to you. And my son also got to meet him, which was really great. That was really a wonderful experience, and like I say, he was real happy to help. So let's look at the very first slide. I wanted to quote a wonderful quote about the soul. It says, "Oh, my soul, turn the heart upside down and be absorbed in the beloved." This is a 15th century mystic, Kabir. So, "Oh, my soul, turn the heart upside down and be absorbed in the beloved." This sounds much like Rumi or Hafiz, so many of these Sufi masters. And the idea of this phrase is, with all of this, is to not overly identify with the type. As a matter of fact, Eli told us, and I think this was not on the show, that for 2 years he quit working with the Enneagram at all because he got so disappointed that the people he worked with were so identifying with the fixation. The point is not to choose your fixation. That's more outward ego identification. The point is to, basically obliterate this personality false self, this ego self, that he said ultimately isn't real. I said, well, yes, ultimately there is only God. It's only our belief that makes it so. So this is what we want to do. And this was from the book, and I loved the quote because it really says in basically one sentence, what we're about. "Oh, my soul, turn the heart upside down and be absorbed in the beloved." Each of us is an aspect, is the essence of God. So there is no separation between us and God. No separation. We believe in separation because of the way we look, because we have bodies, but we are drops in the ocean of God, right? We are water drops in the ocean of God. So if I picked a glass and I put it in the ocean, I would say, is this still the ocean? What would you say? Yes, of course. Well, this is what our bodies are. We look separate, and in fact, we are one with the one. So we want to be absorbed into the beloved. In other words, we have to drop the thoughts and beliefs in separation. So that's what all these fixations are there, because we believed we were separate. Okay, so the three we're talking about today are called the hysterics or the image points. Hysterics. I know it's like, ooh, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? If you're one of these, don't worry. Remember, we all have our fixations. You're not any worse than the rest of us. It's all. Remember how we talked about the fixations? We talked about the first week, or the second week rather. We talked about 9, 8, and 1. And who can tell me those were centered in what? Not in the emotional body, but in what? Anger, which is where? Gut, physical body, right? So the first 3, 9, 8, and 1 were anger points. and they're focused in the gut or in the body. These three image points, 2, 3, and 4, are in the emotional body, so very emotive. And the central issue for this group, and this is so important, is the need for love and approval, along with the perceived inability to be loved for who they are. We also said those 3 points last week moved against people. You remember that? 9, 8, and 1 move against people. These 3 points move what? Towards people. Right? So remember, the 9 is going to like come back and be in their own world. The 8 is going to come out and boom, blame everybody. The 1 is going to judge themselves and everybody else. Right? So that's against people. These styles, 2, 3, and 4, moves towards people. Helpers, doing everything for others. 3, let me make you happy, laugh. I'm going to work. We're going to do it. Let's make it happen. That's a 3, right? And then the 4s, well, let's just get to it. I'm not going to go into all that. Okay, that was enough playing. So we're trying to then find ways to be loved, right? So for these types, it's really about relationship. So for this type, it's not what do I know. Let's go to the next slide, Dave. For this type, it's not what do I know. It's who am I with? Who am I with? I get my identity if I'm a 2, 3, or 4 in who I am with. It doesn't necessarily mean status. It just means who I am with really, really matters to me. And the person I'm with, really, I need them to give me love and approval. So as I say all of this, all the fixations, I really believe in doing a strong therapeutic work, and these inner, this one, the need for love and approval, is so about not getting what we need from the parents. Well, all of them are obviously, but you learn in therapeutic work, you learn to parent yourself from the inside out. So it's real normal. All of these ultimately want love, but these in particular, this is their central issue. Who am I with? And trying to get that need met through outer loving approval and acceptance. So this is a really big issue for this particular group. Really big issue. I tried to get a little diversity in the pictures there. I like that older couple. They're sweet. Okay, let's go back. I wanted to use this word because I wanted to use this phrase. This is a selling out. All the fixations ultimately are, but in these 3 especially, with this particular type of need for love and approval from the outside, there's a sellout of the inner being. It's a sellout. In other words, I don't have a self so that I can get love. I will do whatever I have to do to get love. And you know what? If you were a kid and weren't getting love and helping got you love, how smart were you? You knew what to do, right? But that survival, again, remember that was to survive. But you're not just surviving anymore if you're an adult. We want to thrive. So those old ways of getting our needs met need to die. Tell the person next to you, the old ways have to die. The old ways have to die. I'm telling Dave and everybody online. It has to, somebody said. Yeah. Ruby said it. I told Ruby I'm working on a song with her name as the title. It's really funny. And it's a challenge for me, Ruby. When I get it right, with Angel's permission, I'll sing it to you. Okay, so selling out your essential being. Let's go to the next one. And I'm always amazed the images that Spirit brings to me. I couldn't believe I found this image of the woman holding something in front of her face, because it's like you can tell it's a woman, but you can tell you can't really see what's there. So the essential being is sold out to an image that seems to be required by society. I put it this way, seems to be required. He uses that in the book too. Seems to be required because we are making up stories about what we think society requires of us. Right? So tell the person next to you, quit making up stories. Just stop it, right? Just stop it. Yeah, just stop it. So again, as children, when we are looking to our parents for love and approval, we are adjusting ourselves as needed to get the love, honestly, to survive. I know I've said that, but this is so important. I can't overstress the importance of getting that about these points. Excuse me, because of the drive to get love is so huge. And again, every child has it. Every child has got to get love. And based on, remember, it's based on family system. It can even be based on the order you are in the family. It can be based on your DNA coming through, that historically your family has needed this person or this type of fixation to survive, right? So there is something almost innate about this character fixation struggle. So don't feel bad. Everybody has one. So I've had several people, still be wondering about their style and don't want people to know. Trust me, it doesn't matter if we know. We love you here. We're not going to judge you. A 1 is not worse than a 9. But if you're real worried about somebody knowing, you're probably a 1. Why is that? Because a 1 is already judging themselves so harshly, way more than most people will on the outside. Yeah. So, okay. So 3s want to be loved for what they produce. 3s make it happen. 3s are wonderful to work with. Produce, 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 produce. So you'll love me. And then even if you do, it'll never be enough. I'm going to produce more. I'm going to work harder. Right? So 3s love to produce. Again, 2s, their demand for love is by being helpful and good caretakers, good helpers. Good helpers. It's the person that says, hey, can I help? Even when you don't need it or ask for it. And people who are really stuck in this fixation, they really do help when it's really not appropriate to help. It becomes enabling. Yeah, it really becomes enabling. And 4s, and by the way, I want to mention this again. The reason we do it in this order, it's the order they are in the book. And the 3, remember, is the core. And then we go up to the 2 and then down to the 4, because that's the way it's taught in the book. So I just wanted to explain that. I didn't forget how to count 2 and 3 or something. So 4s long for love and feel that they should be loved because they are unique and elite. But again, what's amazing about the 4s, even when the love starts coming toward them, they don't accept it. They start finding fault then. So they can never quite receive it. So there's a lot of longing, really describes the 4. A lot of unrequited love, just a lot of longing in the 4. Longing to be loved and seeing themselves as very elite and different. So there's a real identity thing with that. Is this making sense so far? Are everybody with me? Everybody with me online? Okay, yeah. Okay, in your PJs, yes. Okay, so let's look at number 3, point 3. I need to tell my screensaver to take a break. 3s at their best. And I love these lists because sometimes bullet points just really make it so easy. 3s at their best. Optimistic, confident, industrious, efficient, self-propelled, energetic, practical. 3s at their worst. Deceptive, narcissistic, pretentious, vain, superficial, vindictive, and overly competitive. And by the way, these are right out of the book on page 39, Enneagram Made Easy. I didn't make them all up. Nope. I've experienced them directly, though. I can tell you those are all true and more. Well, for a while, I thought I might be a 3, honestly. It was hard for me to choose between a 3 and a 7, but then I realized my motivation. I had to check my motivation. So again, if you're still trying to figure out your type, or maybe you weren't here the first week when we did the inventory, what really matters is what motivates your behavior. Because the behavior of a 2 and behavior of a 9, or even the behavior of a 1, can look the same. But why are you doing it? That's what I mean. What's motivating the behavior? Hold on, Phil. We're going to get you the microphone right back there.
This is kind of freaking me out because last week I did ask you about that because I took the comprehensive test twice and I was a 3 and a 7. And now I'm absolutely convinced I am a 3, and it's very sad to say it, but at least I'll admit it and own it. But the question is, you just started and then didn't finish, because you even said to me last week, it's about the motivation. So what is that motivation? What is the difference between choosing between two if you are stuck, like for the 3 and 7, for example?
Right. Well, for the 3, right, you do it for the approval of others, for someone to say, Phil, you are the best. Right. And so if that's why you do it, you're a 3. So hold on and then wait till we get to the 7. Because I really want you to sit in each of these types. Because as my son Joshua said, think of these as your friends. Right. And some of them you may go to in a time of stress or whatever. I don't know, because the 7 is not related to the 3. It's related to the 6 and the 9. But just keep your options open, because it's not right or wrong what number you are. Okay. Remember that. Say, it's not wrong to have a fixation. Say that with me. It's not wrong to have a fixation, because we all have one. For instance, right now in this room, if you think you're a 9, an 8, a 1, or a 3, raise your hand. Boy, you're in good company, aren't you? Okay. Oh, man. Okay. See, the 7s have already gone off to something else. I love it. I love it. I love it. But you see how we haven't talked a lot about this, but do you need me? No. No. So 3s, well, in all these numbers, there's always a positive and there's always a negative to the number itself. And then there's also, it goes a certain direction on the Enneagram. So 3s, if they're feeling happy and safe, which direction do you think they would go? Go ahead, Erica. Yes, you're absolutely right. Right. It's almost like it goes to its opposite. It's trying to find its healing, right? So if I don't have to overachieve. If I'm feeling safe and happy, I'm like, oh, I think everything's going to work out. I don't have to be the center. I'm going to make sure everybody's heard here, Yeah. But now if you're feeling stressed and you go to a 6, right? And 6 is a fear point, pure and simple. What is wrong? What is wrong? And then you doubt your doubts. I mean, 6s are crazed over safety. Where is the nearest exit sign? What could go wrong? Honey, call me before you get home. Okay, there was an accident. Are you okay? Like, I had a friend whose mom was a 6, and we were roommates, and he was actually the sound man at Unity, and I was the youth director. We shared a house. I was in ministerial school, and we would be sitting there, and the phone would ring, and he goes, "It's just when it was a real phone." She would say, "Charlie, there's T-storms." He'd say, "Okay, Mom, I got it. T-storms. Be careful." "Okay, I got my umbrella." "Okay, thanks. I'm okay. We're okay. We have the power, everything." Every single storm, the phone rang. That's a classic 6. Classic 6. And again, this is somebody really stuck in the fixation that just this is how they operate. Everything is what can go wrong. If you're a kid and you're in the 6, I mean, it's the book report. It's what if they move the chairs? It's what if the teacher leaves? It's what if my friend doesn't like me? I don't know if I know what to wear. Yeah, the 6. So if you're a 3 and you're like supercharged, but you're stressed, all of a sudden everything turns into this like worry. Okay, does that make sense? So really working with the fixations, knowing where you go in stress or when you're feeling like safe and happy can be really helpful. And remember, there's also you can even be if you're a 3, you could also have kind of a 2 wing. Boy, a 3 with a 2 wing, you talk about getting it done. Not only do they get it done, they help everybody around them. So you see how that would be positive. But if they're a 3 in their negative aspect of 3 and the negative aspect of 2, watch out. They're going to be telling you everything you did wrong and how to do it right and all that. See, so everyone has this. And remember what we said last week, depending on where you are on the soul's journey. If you're a young soul, you don't even care about this. If you've been around a while, you might be interested. And if you've done a lot of soul work and many lifetimes, you're saying, I'm ready to heal, and you start really getting this kind of stuff. But this is a super deep teaching, the Enneagram. It really is a sacred path to walk. And you could use this as a major source for healing for years to come. Years to come. Because every time you're in fixation and you see it, it's a chance for healing. But we are mostly in it, all the time. Even when we meditate, how we approach that is fixation oriented. Right? If I'm a 3, I'm going to want to do it the right way. I'm going to want to make sure everybody knows I'm doing it. I'm going to go to the coolest studio. I'm going to buy all the clothes. I'm going to get the pillow that goes with it. Sometimes I think people in India must look at the US and go, the way we are with meditation and yoga too. Right? The stuff that we think we have to have for these ancient practices, that you had nothing. You just sit. But now we've got pillows, we've got outfits, we've got pants, we've got Gayam written down the side. So if I'm a 3, I'm going to be all up in that. Right? Yes, I've got my new mat. No, I've never used it. Here we are. So that's a 3. That's a 3. Or have I told you about my practice? So they're not bad or good. Remember that. Say that. It's not bad or good. It's not bad or good. It is. And what we want to do, remember, is be absorbed in the beloved. So when you've heard me say it's a wisdom mirror. He says that in the book, and I just borrowed that phrase. I thought it was so good. Because when you come face to face with a fixation, you have to either deny it or be melted by it. There's really no other option. You either lie to yourself or you say, here I am. And as soon as you say, here I am, you feel it with me, don't you? Yeah. And then it's like, oh, I am doing that. So, and then you don't even have to try to do something. So the new comes forward. There was this great teacher. She was a psychologist. She's passed away now. Her name was Marion Woodman. And she used to talk a lot about that. When you hold the lower desire, something higher, you make room for something higher. And that's just born out of it as you not repress, but as you don't answer this need to be in this fixation, or another way to say it is this projection, this shadow piece. When you don't answer that, that it sometimes you feel I'm going to die if I don't act this way I've always acted. But if you can hold that lower desire in its proper place, then something new comes forward. And and this is big crap, man. This is big stuff. Angel has a comment right here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this remember the flower of the lotus.
The flower of the lotus, yes.
There is mud for when you go, and this is beautiful flower, but need everything for this is it.
To be able to bloom, it needs the dirt and the water and the.
This is what when you said that, when you accept everything, it's let it go. It's the moment to the flower come and bloom.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know if you guys heard all of that, but the lotus flower is kind of, I don't know if the word gestates, in mud. And so finally, as it comes forward, it's only the beautiful lotus because it's been down in that mud. That's true. It's a very powerful symbol of transformation and even transmutation, transcendence, really. So all of us, and especially the 3, anytime they're doing something, they want instant approval, but it's more than approval. It's like we want, what's that? Yes, we want love. There was something else I was getting to, and I lost it there. Okay, there is, and I notice this a lot in spiritual circles. There was a guy in Phoenix. He ran a yoga studio, and he called himself Yogi E. And I walked in and I said, man, that ain't no yogi. And there's this spiritual ego that people take on. We all do it. And to a degree. And in my work life, when I've worked, anytime I've worked with somebody that every other word out of their mouth was about their church, they were stealing from the company. In every case, I've known. In every case. There was a guy I worked with at a music store. He always talked about his church, and it was his church this, his church that, and oh, my church can use this. We found out in 1 year he stole thousands upon thousands from the music company. I used to manage music store, and I was in charge of training all the managers for this 11-store chain. And one of the managers I worked with was always talking about his church. He was the biggest thief in the bunch. So anytime you see that ego, that real strong spiritual ego, watch out. There's something under that. There's something under that. Anybody that's telling you how spiritual they are, and we all can do it. Like we know more, and we know what everybody else needs to do, and all that. You really find stuff like this in the 3, but we all have it. We all have it. Okay, so again, go to the next slide. I want to talk about again the core image, the core image point, and the core image point, again, it was like 9 being the core anger point. So even though 3s look really self-assured, they have no assurance really. Right, so there's this absence of hysteria. It seems cool, they seem polished, they look good. And often in the Enneagram, these are some of the most beautiful people. 3s tend to be very beautiful because they're really focused on the outer and how they present. So what happens to the hysteria? Well, I don't know if this video, you got it? Stand by. Okay, this is an 11-second video that shows a 3 in action. Okay, that's what happens to the hysteria. It works. It thinks if I can just stay busy, working, no one will notice how unassured I am of myself. Right? That's the 3. Okay, Josh and I were bored, okay? Okay. That's, what is the, I'm trying to think of the album name. It's something about the devil, though. Okay, so what happens to the hysteria? It gets caught up in work. It's so busy producing, it's never looking inward. It's really hard for 3s to look inward. I'll be surprised if there's more than 1 or 2 in the class because they're too busy working. They don't have time for class. They're too busy producing. All right, so you've heard me talk a little bit about it. We talked a little bit about it on Sunday. I want to give you time in discussion. Go ahead and go to that next, next one. So in all of these, and I talked to Eli a little bit about this, how could this soul grow? Now, in your packet, once again, I gave you typical thoughts of a 3. So for your discussion, and I want to make sure you talk to somebody different than you did last week, so you may have to move around. And I gave you little hints as to what this soul could do to grow by the pictures. How could this soul grow? What does a 3 need to learn? And if you are a 3, it'll really help you to hear it from the outside. If you are a 3, it'll also help you to come up with that on your own. What are typical thoughts? Let's see. Let me grab my packet. I love the typical thoughts of a 3. Typical thoughts of a 3. I certainly hope I made a good impression. Why doesn't everyone work as hard as I do? That guy did a good job, but I can do it better. I wish I hadn't taken on those 10 extra projects. 3s as children, and this was always really helpful to me, often work hard to receive appreciation for their accomplishments, are well liked by other children and by adults, are among the most capable and responsible children in their class or school, are active in school government and clubs, or are quietly busy working on their own projects. As parents, are consistent, dependable, and loyal. They struggle between wanting to spend time with their children and wanting to get more work done. They expect their children to be responsible and organized. Okay, so knowing all that in your discussion, what could this soul do, or how could they move towards growth out of this fixation? talk about that. And I'd say just one other person. It's a small enough group. One other person, and make it be somebody different from last week, if you don't mind. Okay, go ahead and finish up last minute to complete your discussion. All right, did you guys have a good discussion? Did you learn how to grow past being a 3? Hope so. Well, I found one thing I wanted to lift up, and I never did last week. And sometimes I get so excited I forget some of the details. In all of these, there are also subtypes. Like on page 141 in this book, if you're reading the book, he talks about in threes, like there's a self-preservation 3. And it's interesting that both Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, however you say it, the Microsoft giant and the Facebook giant are both self-preservation threes. I thought that was it. And so is Michael Jordan. And so is, although he's not listed here, he talks about, everybody remember the football player Joe Montana? He was never supposed to play football again, but what was it, 6 weeks or 9 weeks after a big surgery, after back surgery, he went back to playing. Why? He thought he was going to lose his job, even though he's like the most famous, one of the most famous of all time. We're still talking about him today, and everybody knows him by name. So that's interesting, right? So also a three. The social prestige threes, a couple of them: Tom Hanks, Johnny Carson, Dan Quayle, Bob Hope, Dick Clark as well. Sexual masculine feminine, so both: Miss America, John F. Kennedy and Jackie, Denzel Washington, Tom Cruise, Matt Damon, Brad Pitt, Trevor Noah. It goes on. Interesting, right? All very famous. Also, Deepak Chopra. Interesting. Lord, I hope I never end up in a book like this. I'm talking about me. All right. That's how you know when you're really big, people start talking about you, right? Okay, so let's look at twos. Twos are very helpful. Bless them. Sorry, it's easier if I read it off one. At their best, we love a two. Everybody loves a good two. Are loving, caring, adaptable, insightful, generous, enthusiastic. Tune in to how people feel. On the other hand, at their worst, martyr-like, indirect, manipulative, possessive, hysterical, overly accommodating, overly demonstrative. These are the more extroverted twos. So remember, anytime we're doing a grouping of three, and we talked about the three is the main image point, two is the exteriorized, meaning it goes outside of itself, a point, right? So in other words, they're doing all these outward behaviors to get love and acceptance. And what is the behaviors? Go to the next slide. Is helping. They want to be loved for their helpfulness and specialness. And this makes twos also work compulsively, overly work. And they just become exhausted. These make great executive assistants. They just work and work and work and work. The boss stays late, no problem. Work and work and work and work. And they've already made, all the meals for the kids, and it's in the freezer. And you know what I mean? These are the twos. Helping. And they help so much that they become utterly exhausted and have no juice left for themselves. Twos are wonderful, wonderful helpers. And as I've said before, I've worked with some wonderful twos, but you don't want a two on their negative side, because you can never, first of all, you can never love a two enough for them to know that you love them. They cannot accept the love that you're trying to give. That's what is so hard about these three types. As much as you try to give the love, it's really hard to accept it in. And also for a two, and I think I mentioned this Sunday, what's hard is if you try to help them, you're never going to help them as good, because you're not a two, right? You're never going to do it as well. And they may even tell you how you could do it better. Lovely. So, it's classic. This, the woman who throws a party and people are staying after midnight. She worked all morning through a party, and they're saying, "Oh, we should probably go." And the two is going, "Oh no, stay as long as you want." Exhausted on the couch. But the two will never say, "Yes, it's time for you to go," or "Yes, I need to go to bed." Two will never say that. Who's unrealized, right? A two stuck in their fixation will help until past when it hurts. No, that's okay. No problem. You were trying to be helpful. Right. So twos love to help, but again, if they're in the negative side, they're going to be a martyr. They're going to really let you know you didn't love them enough. It can be really hard to be the partner of a two, because you can never do it as good. It's hard to be the partner of a two. It's wonderful to work with the two because they always overdo. Yeah, they always overdo. I had a woman I worked with at Unity of Phoenix. She's made her passing now, but if I would say to have to categorize her, I would say maybe she was a 2. And she said, I love my ex-husband. We loved working together, but I couldn't stand being married to him. It's funny. She was a 2, help, 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 help. And it was great at work, but at home, it didn't work. Thought that was so interesting. So all of these have their tough sides. Remember I said, the 3s can be controlling, all that. So everybody has theirs. So again, if we catch ourselves in this fixation, what we want to do is start to become aware that these are our go-to behaviors, right? These are not right or wrong. These are our go-to behaviors, but we're ultimately, if we're stuck in the fixation, it's not healthy because we're stuck in the ego and not the soul, right? So let's talk about in our small group again, what are the growth steps for a 2? How can this soul grow? But before you do that, let's look at the second page of your handout, typical thoughts of a 2. It says, did I take too much attention for myself? My advice will really help him out. I hope I didn't hurt her feelings. How can I get her to like me? Yeah, 2s so want approval. And if they're not popular, they work really, really hard to be popular. And again, they can lose part of their essence in high school to trying to do things to fit in, to be popular. 2s as children often are very sensitive to disapproval and criticism, try hard to please their parents by being helpful and understanding, are, and this is important, outwardly compliant, maybe inwardly not, are popular or try to be popular with other children, act coy, precocious, or dramatic in order to get attention, are clowns and jokers, the more extroverted 2s, or quiet and shy, the more introverted 2s. 2s as parents are good listeners, love their children unconditionally, and are warm and encouraging, or suffer guilt if they aren't. So there can also be, the word hysteria. Every 2 I've known well has this tendency to really get really emotional if things don't go right and cannot handle a big emotional situation. Like I have a family member who I love dearly, and it's probably a 2. If there's a death in the family, nobody tells her. They go and pick her up and bring her home and then tell her, because we don't want her to drive that upset. That's a typical 2 reaction. A 9 might feel that, but you're never going to know it. Right? A 3 is going to be, I can handle this. I will take care of all the details of the funeral. But the 2 goes, ah! That hysterical, that word. 2s are often females, but they're definitely male 2s as well. Yeah, sorry, Dave, you're going to have to. Thank you. So 2s can be very, very emotive. They can be very dramatic. Like, even, do you guys know the word histrionic? They can be very histrionic. I wish I had a good definition, but it's like overly, everything is, oh. That's a 2. That's histrionic. I did. I know it well. I know it too well. I've worked with many 2s. I adore them, but watch out. The emotions can be cuckoo. They can get really, really big. Not cuckoo. I mean, I'm kidding, but okay. They're bigger than the situation calls for. Like an emotion is like, oh my God, I'm feeling pain. I can't feel pain. Who can I help? I can't. I'm too upset. Okay. Ruby.
One thing I've noticed I'm a 2. As a 2 is that I tend to try to anticipate everybody else's needs.
Yes.
And I'm like the person you need. Even before you even know what you need, I'm there. It's right there. Here you go. And as I was working as an interpreter, and I was helping to the point that I had a teacher tell me, no, she needs to get her own pencil.
It's really okay.
Because I tend to try to anticipate what everybody else needs, and I need to learn how to not help them out.
Right.
So
And what's, like I say, 2s are great because, man, you'll always get a lot of help. Right. But sometimes 2s, once you realize this is the fixation, none of us want to act out of something almost as a compulsion. Like we are driven to help for the so being helpful is great, but you don't want to be driven to the point of helping where you lose yourself, right? And so I know you as a soul have worked a lot of that, and you're like, oh yeah, I see, I do that. So it's again, remember, as soon as you see it, you're starting to come out of it, which is great. That's where the healing comes. So we don't want to hit ourselves over the head and go, oh, I'm a 2. We deal with it. I'm a 2, I'm a 1, I'm a whatever. Yes, Erica has a question or comment. Go ahead.
I just thought it was interesting because it says that a lot of 2s help with an ulterior motive.
Uh-huh.
And, I know it is the love, but there's some other underlying motives there of why the helping occurs, that I think I'm still working through, but that was a big kind of aha moment.
Thank you for sharing that. That is a big aha. It's like, okay, what's motivating this helping? Yes. Excellent insight over here.
And while
Tanya, right?
we're getting the microphone across the room, yeah, you can go ahead and hand that over. Histrionic, overly theatrical or melodramatic in character or style, denoting a personality disorder marked by shallow, volatile emotions and attention-seeking behavior.
Right. So this is somebody like super in the fixation. And again, I don't judge any of this, man. We are all doing the best we can. And so probably, if we go into those histrionics, it's because as children, nobody was paying attention until it got really bad. So it just makes a lot of sense. I have a lot of compassion for each one of these fixations because I can see how it comes from the childhood wounding and even sometimes from past lives that we're coming in to heal. So go ahead, Tanya. Sorry.
So that's okay. I'm just wondering to understand it better if the helper helps as a form of currency. And then when they build up currency, like they feel that is their value and that they should be getting it in return.
Correct.
Okay.
You are exactly right. It's like I put money in this bank account, which means I need to receive now. Your turn. And again, because nobody can ever help as good as a 2, it's tough. So then the two ends up feeling underappreciated and not loved. I did all this for you. Where have you been? Yes, exactly. Yeah, great insight. These are all great insights. So we'll go to our discussion now. It's a perfect point to go to our discussion. What can a 2 do? Oh, and I already read these. Yes, already read these. So go ahead and go to your discussion. How can this soul grow? Go ahead and go back a slide or two to the one more. There you go. Okay, last minute, go ahead and finish up. Okay, good. A lot of good discussion on this one. What I'm loving is that the energy is shifting in the room and it's going deeper. Do you feel that? That you're getting real with one another and you're really sharing. I can't tell you how important that is. If you are in vulnerability, it means you are growing as a soul. It means you are dropping the mask of ego. Everyone wants to look good. If you find yourself saying, I don't want anybody to know, you're in fixation right there. If you're worried about somebody knowing, you're in the fixation. 100% it's got you. As soon as you're willing to, like, wow, is this me? This book kicked my butt on my number. I'm telling you, I've studied this stuff for a long time. One thing, like it like felt like it jumped off the page. So I really applaud you, the ones that are really looking at this and saying, yeah, that I do that. Because when you see that, you're going to heal it. I just honor you for that. And on page 156 in the Fixation to Freedom book, I wanted to lift up a couple of the subtypes. So the self-preservation twos, there are 3 presidents' wives in this. Nancy Reagan, Lady Bird Johnson, Rosalind Carter, which I thought was so interesting. So he tells a story too in the book about Ronald Reagan. I mean, the day he was being, what do you call it? Inauguration day. You know, the aide comes in and says, where's the president? And I think still in bed, you know, knock, knock, knock. Mr. President, are you going to get up? What time is it? You know, it's 2 hours to the inauguration. I'll be up in a minute. You know, but Nancy Reagan was running around behind the scenes making it happen. You know, he's very, very passive. I think Ronald Reagan was a 9, so very, very passive. And she's running around as a 2, helping, 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 helping. She was actually the one deciding policy, you know, whatever you say, dear. Yeah, whatever you say, dear. Who's more interested in training the dog than national policy? I mean, there's a lot of stories about that where, you know, there was one in the book where he said, you know, Mr. President, you know, this is a matter of national security. You know, it doesn't matter if the dog pisses on your desk. He said, well, he may as well. Everybody else does, you know. He was not going to be like, so imagine a 2 being married to that. Oh my gosh. Her purpose was like running around, right? And I heard she could set a table now, right? She knew what was what. So you can see some of the positives of that. So the other thing, the social ambition 2s, Dolly Parton, Elizabeth Taylor, Little Richard, Magic Johnson. So anyway, a lot of funny ones. Tammy Faye Baker. A lot of women that tend to be like overly made up with the big eyelashes, you know, it's like kind of like this is going to be kind of creepy. It's kind of like cute little daddy's girl. That's a 2. Almost always a 2. Betty Boop. Betty Boop is a 2. Yeah, Stepford Wives. Exactly. And then the sexual aggression seduction 2s, also interesting. Elvis Presley, Gina Davis, Sissy Spacek, Smokey Robinson. So, and if you go through this book too, I mean, I can't believe when he lists some of the countries. I thought it was interesting that Bali, did you see that? Was a self-preservation too. So I need to read more about that because I didn't really remember that one. Okay, good work on this one. Let's go to one more. I gotta move ahead here. I gotta get in bed, it sounds like. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about point 4. Point 4. I think I shared on Sunday. I so don't really connect with the 4 that I've kind of avoided it. But this series, it's been really important for me. 4s at their best are warm, compassionate, introspective, expressive, creative, intuitive, supportive, and refined. At their worst, depressed, self-conscious, guilt-ridden, moralistic, withdrawn, stubborn, moody. It should be, sorry, mood. Just mood. No, moody, moody and self-absorbed. So yeah, if you're a 4, remember I talked about all that longing and that depression, feeling bad, nobody loves me. But at your best, boy, you're really bringing a lot to the world. So remember, all of these have 2 sides. None's better than another. There's a lot of expressive, a lot of creativity, and in the chakras, it's oh, this is interesting about what I was about to do. I forget that. Um, well, what I was going to say, I was relating the numbers of the chakras to the numbers in here, and that's really, I can't go into all that right now. It's too big. It's too big. So the 4s can be extremely warm. On the other hand, they can be super moody. So you got to catch a 4 at the right moment, because they tend towards angst and longing. They're always the artist types, the ones that are in the corner. They're kind of depressed, hoping nobody talks to them, but wishing they would. I mean, it's, you know, it's 4s. And I think there's one of our new members who's a 4. It was so funny on the platform. I can watch I see everybody's reaction. Don't think you can hide a thing. It's like a teacher at the front of the room. It's like, oh boy. And this guy laughed so hard when I said, you work really hard at looking like you didn't work hard to put your outfit together. His face went red. It's so funny. So 4s are really interesting. They are very again, very unique, very very elite, but they really always feel like they are out of place, and there's a lot of shame about that. They feel like they don't belong. Like a 4 came up to me after service and said, I hope you understand this. My whole life I said to myself, why was I born to this family? Why was I born in this world? These are common thoughts of a 4. I do not belong in this school with these people in this family. They always feel out of place, and there's a lot of shame about that. Like, so they internalize that as something's wrong with them. So this is really tough about being a 4. There can be a lot of shame associated with being a 4. And again, every number has its thing, and that shame is a really big one. So let's look at the next slide. This is an important point too. Never feels at home and never feels relaxed or in harmony, or never feels rather in relaxed harmony with the environment. It's like they're always waiting for life to begin. Always waiting for life to begin. They have a hard time getting going. They're either stuck in the past or off in the future and have a really hard time just appreciating the moment. You know, 4s are like, what's it all for anyway? Yeah, what's it all for? And it always, always feels like something is missing. It's like there's a missing piece of this puzzle. Where is it? I don't belong. Really, that's the tough part about being a 4. Again, there's a lot of positives, but that can be really tough. Waiting for life to begin, and so it's hard to get going on things sometimes if you're a 4, much like a 6. It's hard to get going on things because there's something wrong with wherever you are. It either is not as good as it used to be or not as good as it could be. 4s are always grass is always greener types. Yeah, grass is always greener. So, oh, wait, I wanted to get to this. So, typical thoughts of a 4 in your packet says, they say, what's it all for anyway? Yeah. I want to create something meaningful, deep, and unique. Searching, longing, grieving. No one really understands me. Why did I say the wrong thing again? This is histrionic too, isn't it? When is my real life going to begin? So, Forrest's children often have active imaginations, play creatively alone, or organize playmates in original games, are very sensitive, feel that they don't fit in, believe they are missing something that other people have, attach themselves to idealized teachers, heroes, artists, etc., become anti authoritarian or rebellious when criticized or not understood, feel lonely or abandoned, perhaps as a result of a death or their parents' divorce. So, as a matter of fact, often in force, there's a shared childhood experience of like being locked away, literally, physically, put in a closet or put behind a door, or if you cry, you're put in another room and no one comes and talks to you. Well, of course, you'd make up a story that something was wrong with you. Yeah. So, talk a little bit about what that might be. Sorry. Sorry. How could this soul grow? All right, talk about that. I'm I'm so close to making it through class. Okay, 1 minute. Go ahead and finish up. All right, you guys back? Are these good conversations for you? They're intense. I just realized this is a 3 shirt to wear that I wore tonight. Okay. Um, so I want to read to you on page 172 the subtypes. I found these really interesting in every chapter. So the self-preservation subtype is called Dauntless. Betty Davis, Steve Martin, and here's one of my favorites, Tim Burton. Yes, Tim Burton. I got it. Paul Simon, Roberta Flack, Edith Piaf. You know Edith Piaf, the singer? I have a lot of her. Sammy Davis Jr., Jack Lemmon, and the country of Japan. Huh? Yes, yes, exactly. So yeah, Japan is still, they took everything China did and made it better, right? Yeah. So, but always, cut off. So the social shame of a 4, Judy Garland, totally right. Buster Keaton, I was like, I know I should know who that is, but right now I don't. Kate Wolf, Neil Young, Cat Stevens, Leonard Cohen. Here's the most interesting one, the San Francisco gay culture. Interesting, right? Elton John, not listed. No, Elton John, I don't, no, I think he's a 7. He has no shame. Yeah, he has no shame. I think he's probably a 7. If I had to type him off the top of my head, I would say. Sexual competition, Jimi Hendrix, Tupac, Marlon Brando, Johnny Depp, Ingrid Bergman, Robert Downey Jr., Billie Holiday. Oh yeah, Billie Holiday, right? Makes a lot of sense. And the country, well, Miles Davis, John Coltrane, a lot of jazzers in there. And then Italy, the country, yeah, Italy, interesting, right? So I wanted to say just a few words to really remind you in the coming week. And I hope to see you at class because there's one more class where we'll finish up the last 3 and really get to the essence pieces. Okay, Enneagram point or soul essence, ego or soul, where are you? You're either in one or the other. There's no in between. As soon as you start coming out of the fixation, you're in the soul, right? And that's where we want to live from. You want to move into the soul. I was going to tell you too, I just was talking to a friend of mine. He always really inspires me, the way he follows his inner guidance and the way like spirit, really shows up for him. And he is so committed to living from his soul no matter what. He's like, no matter what, I'm going to do it. And the chances he takes and the way spirit kind of scoops him up every time is so impressive. So I just really want to encourage you this week, if you know you're in your fixation, just stop. If you can, just stop. Just stop. And I'm going to play a little video for you next week that might help too. So I want you to really notice, call yourself on it because you're the only one who can. And what I've noticed when I'm in fixation, it's kind of this a small, kind of confused, kind of like whiny little voice. It's like, well, I don't know what they're gonna. I can hear the inner child speaking. It is so different from how I hear spirit. It is so different. And so, we often talk about like listening to that inner voice. You're going to start to be able to differentiate those voices. And sometimes you have to stop everything and go, you know what? I'm not doing anything until I get really clear. And nobody does this perfectly, including me. But I'm committed to it. I'm committed to it. And when I make a mistake, I will clean it up. Right? But that's my goal. If I hear it. Now, if I don't hear it and I'm in it, well, what can I do? Right? And there's nothing I can do. But if I'm in it and I hear it, I say, wait a minute. Right? So pull back. So I want to really encourage you to do that this week and see if you can start differentiating the voice, because usually the ego is trying to convince. It kind of argues and kind of tries to tuck into stuff. Go ahead. Yes.
What's your perception on calling each other out as,
Don't do it. That's a perfect 2 question. And I love you for it. Right back. Uh-huh.
Would it be true that when you leave your fixation and go into the soul, you feel joy?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but some decisions are difficult. Some decisions are difficult. So you might not necessarily feel joy, but you might feel peace. You might feel peace. And at first, going into it, it's going to be the opposite of peace because you're going to go, no, I know I'm supposed to do this, and I was supposed to do this, and I was supposed to do this. Oh, I finally did it. That's kind of how we all are when we're taking soul steps. That's how we all are. Yes, and I'm so happy to see you back, by the way. I think your name is Rennie. Rennie, okay.
Happy to be back.
Rennie, yes, I've missed you. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
Good.
So Corey was kind enough to help me
Oh, good.
get these personality inventories, but I'm so confused as to which one I am. I scored exactly the same in several. Do you have any resources or any advice
Yes.
in, or is it important?
Oh, yes, it is important. It's a wonderful question. Oftentimes, when you have a hard time telling what number you are, you could possibly be a 9. Because 9s, and there's nothing wrong with that, 9s tend to adjust based on the environment. But see, 3s can even do that as well because they're so busy performing. They have this almost sixth sense, like when they're talking to a certain kind of audience. If they think the certain kind of audience is disagreeing, they just kind of change as they go to make it like fit the situation. So, but if it's that, wow, I really understand a 6, I really understand a 2, I really understand a 3. Well, remember the 9, the 6, and the 3 are all related. So I would look to see what are your scores on those particular numbers and then go from there. But if like your 2, your 3, and your 4, were the same, then it might be you're a stronger 3 because that's the core point. So it just depends on what your 3 are. 7, 9. Interesting. So I might, if it were me, what I might do is take a couple different online inventories and see if you can get clear. And then, so that's kind of the primer. There's 2 books we're using. That's one. But then there's this one. So this one goes heavily into what is the motivation for the behavior. And that'll help you. That will help you. And learning how you deal with certain emotions. So I would look at those 3, but I would look at the 9 first. Yeah, I would look at the 9 first. Okay, let's go to, we only have 2 more slides. So I want to make sure that we're in this together. I would feel terrible if I thought that the study of this made you feel worse, not better about your spirituality. So again, the temptation is to see these numbers and overly identify with them and then feel bad about it. Remember, this is not who you are. Say to the person, this is not who you are. This is simply who you were taught to be. That's it. Right. And so what's amazing as you start to really do soul work is you can blow past some of this stuff and God really learns how to use this to move you forward, right? So I really applaud all of you for the work you're doing on this. This is huge stuff. So for our love offering tonight, we have one more song from one of the numbers. Remember, there's this band I told you about. It's called Sleeping at Last, which I think is a weird band name. God bless them, but it seems to work. They have over 1 million views. Maybe I ought to learn from that. I don't know. But hold your offering in your hand as we prepare to bless it. And I love this affirmation, which is I give in love because I love to give. Will you say that with me together? I give in love because I love to give. That is the truth, and so it is. Amen.
I've done enough. In your golden child grew up. Maybe this trophy isn't real love. And with or without it, I'm good enough. Maybe I've done enough. Finally catching up. For the first time I see an image of my brokenness, utterly worthy of love. Maybe I've done enough. And I finally see myself through the eyes of no one else. It's so exhausting on this silver screen, where I play the role of anyone but me. And I finally see myself unabridged and overwhelmed, a mess of a story I'm ashamed to tell, but I'm slowly learning how to break this spell. And I finally see myself. Now I only want what's real, to let my heart feel what it feels. Gold, silver, bronze hold no value here, where work and rest are equally revered. I only want what's real. I set aside the highlight reel and leave my greatest failures on display with an asterisk, worthy of love anyway.
I don't know why. I love all those songs. I was like, I can relate to all those. Remember, we all have aspects of all of these in our psyche and our, that we work with. We tend towards one, but it is a system that we all are working in and around. And also remember to have a lot of compassion for the people around you, especially the ones not doing this, right? Because once you start seeing it, it's like, whoa, there it is, there it is, there it is, there it is. Oh my goodness, 1-9, woo, this is fun. So remember to have a lot of compassion. And most of all, also compassion with yourself. Also know this can really help you in your relationships to know how to communicate certain things in certain ways, knowing that the way somebody receives it is really going to be probably centered in their fixation. So hopefully this is helping you. We don't want to get in the way of relationships. We want to help foster communication, and again, help you love yourself more and live from your soul. So bless you. Thank you for being here. Everybody online, bless you. Thank you. We will see you all Sunday, I hope. Should be the last series. And remember, Sunday is Heritage Day. So bring your culture, wear it out and proud, whatever that may be, and we're going to love you in that. Blessings as you leave, friends, and I'm going to kind of scoot out early tonight. So thank you. Thank you.